when I was working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as the Foreign Service Officer responsible for Belizeans abroad, the focal point, many things occurred why I did not continue. One of those was last year's July summit, for example, a good example, where Belizean leaders from across the country, and I think even from Canada and some places, were supposed to be here in D.C., and they met with ministers and the CEO and others on issues about the diaspora program. Well, I'm the one that's tasked with establishing this thing, putting it together with the help of Ambassador Tucker, and I was not allowed to go to to do a presentation. I prepared a presentation, but I was not allowed to go give it. And so there were issues there. Story one. Story two. I tried while I was there, and many of you were online. What I was trying to, we're dealing with registering Belizeans abroad, and two, we're dealing with creating the Council for Belizeans abroad. The registration we were doing because we need to understand how many Belizeans are in what part of the world, what part of the country, part of the world, so we can provide the proper services. That's protocol. Ms. Diana Locke, who is the director for protocol, great person, does a great job. She gives her best, and that was her response. That's what she was trying to get done for years. So when I got there, they tried to put that, have us do it with the diaspora. But I will say this, and it will be in the public domain. The reality on the ground for the government of Belize wasn't that. The senior people above Ms. Locke and others, in other words, the ministry, the ministers per se, their idea was to use this thing evidently in a political way. I was basically ordered after, right about my 6-month time, that if I don't get the name, phone number, and address and email address of every Belizean abroad, basically I wouldn't have a job. Now, Ambassador Tucker rightfully told me, he says, unless your name is Jesus Christ, I don't know how you're going to do that. Okay? Because many people have tried to do it, and it has not been done. And that's because Belizeans abroad, rightfully so, are concerned about the corruption back home and what can be done with your information. Rightfully so. Okay? So that's why we don't have a legitimate database at this time. I pray that soon we will have the right people in government and the right people in leadership, where people that have transparency and integrity, where you can feel free and to know that your information will be protected. And I'll give you a simple example. Someone called the CEO, and he put the person through to me because the person wanted the name, phone number, and all your information of Belizeans abroad so they can market to you. And I basically told the young man, gentleman, I said, you are out of your mind. You have called the wrong person. In Belize, it may be okay. But in the U.S., it is illegal to release people's personal information without their permission. And so, no way would I ever release anybody's information. Never. And I went and spoke to the CEO about it, and I was very ticked off, and I told him never put someone through to me with that interest. Ever. Not interested. And I won't do it. So, Council for Belizeans Abroad, I was trying to put together. The idea behind that is to have Belizeans abroad, like the folks that were at that meeting in July, run your own show. You don't need the government to run your show. You can run your show as an organized body. But right now, the way Belizeans abroad are operating, it's haphazard and it's not conducive to the development of our country. Because you are doing so much, but it's overlapping. If you do things organized, we will have a better nation, a more developed nation, and your efforts will be more recognized, and the people will benefit. I can tell you that even in government, people take advantage of the donations you send back if it gets into the wrong hands. Okay? And you can look online, and you'll find out some things that came down that I worked with. A doctor, an American, who went down and saw a need. We worked with her, and she helped the kids at the we call it the Cadet Corps. She helped them. She sent some stuff back, but 3 barrels back with tennis shoes, underwears, socks, the whole 9 yards, because she saw a need. She cried. She couldn't believe it. She saw other things that I cannot say here. But there were some things happening that she could not believe. But what happened? She sent those things back, raised the funds, bought everything from before December. I didn't deliver it till about the end of March. I didn't get it till March. One of the reasons was she refused, because we spoke about this, to send it down before Christmas. Now listen, if she had sent it before Christmas, the kids at the cadet corps come from some families that are in dire need. So if you're a mama and your son came home with a brand new tennis shoes and a brand new bunch of new stuff, and you don't even have food on the table, are you going to give your son to keep that tennis shoes and that stuff? Or are you going to sell it and buy some food? What's more important, food or tennis shoes? I would say food. So to avoid that happening, we ended up delivering it way after that time frame. Not just that. Although I had already left the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I had to pay my own money to go down there, put the gas in my own personal vehicle to take the stuff down, I did that because they were not willing to have the government, anybody from the government, issue the stuff. Because it would not, I am telling you right now, it would not have all gone there. And I can guarantee you, and God is my witness, not one thing stayed with us. Well, let me correct that. We have the empty barrels because they didn't fit in the truck. But we took everything out of the barrels, and so the barrels are there, but that's about all that's there. So I don't play that game. So, Council for Belizeans Abroad, it is needed, it's necessary, because we want to have Belizeans Abroad organized so we can actually do things right in Belize. Or articles, and you can find all this on BelizeCan.org. Article 1, BelizeCan, a non-profit organization, is established with the Council of Belizeans Abroad as the diaspora wing, and the BelizeCan Patriots as the local wing on Belizean soil. BelizeCan is registered right here in Houston. It's called BelizeCan, Council for Belizeans Abroad, and BelizeCan is registered in Belize. So, there are both sides to it. So we're now looking at having folks, hopefully some folks that are here today, can be a part of the leadership team in BelizeCan, abroad, our Council for Belizeans Abroad, and we want people from all over the U.S. We have folks from and I'll go and get into that, but the U.S., Canada, EU, just all over, be a part of this thing. We're looking for 60 people to be a part of the leadership body in BelizeCan, Council for Belizeans Abroad. The goal of the Council for Belizeans Abroad will be to promote strategies, create programs, collect proposals and recommendations from the communities, its members, its organizations, and advisory bodies, that contribute to improving the living standards of the Belizean communities abroad, and to implement the instructions issued by BelizeCan's executive body. What I'm saying is, there are issues that can be taken care of by the government of Belize for its people abroad. Something simple. The Mexicans have a great program. They have a tarjeta consular, and that's a card they give at the Mexican consulate. You may be an illegal Mexican, but you have an ID card. That is an official ID card. Belize has not done that. Great gentleman in California has been trying to do something close to that for the folks in California, Belizean. So that escapes my mind. You know, Roland York is doing something similar. So we want to run that across the country, but it must be something that has all the checks and balances, so it cannot be fake. The Mexicans did it right with all the identity things inside of the card and stuff like that. So we're looking at something like that. Again, you know, that's something simple. So other things, the Mexicans also, they provide, for example, medical checkups and stuff like that for their people sometimes for free. You go in and they'll do a check for blood sugar and hypertension and stuff like that. So some things that can be done, we want to do those. And we know that Belizeans abroad would be glad to even have an office where they can volunteer and help their own people. We know that that can happen. But the problem is not organized. But we expect this Council of Belizeans Abroad to help to organize that. So it is not ran by the government of Belize. If the government is red, who cares? If it's blue, who cares? If it's green, who cares? Or yellow, we don't care. This is about Belizeans abroad. And we will therefore lobby the government of Belize to do their jobs, to look out for Belizeans abroad. We didn't say legal Belizeans abroad. We said Belizeans abroad. If you're a Belizean, that's all that counts. We don't care when your paper expired, or you have a visa or not. That's not our business, our problem. We can look out for you to take care of you. So, Article 3, the goal of BelizeCan Patriots will be to promote the same thing, strategies, create programs, collect proposals and recommendations from local communities, its members, organizations, and advisory bodies that contribute to the living standard of the local Belizean communities. So we back home will be working to let you know where the needs are. So when you do your fundraiser of pencils and all these things, we can tell you, don't send it again to Lucky Strike, or don't send it again to Sand Hill, because California just sent a lot to Sand Hill. But there's a little village called Burrell Boom that didn't get any. Now I'm just using examples. So that your efforts will be actually realized by the local Belizeans, all right? And again, we're also looking out for interest. So when you need something abroad, we will help you lobby the government of Belize on your behalf. Article 4 talks about the executive body. The executive body is the president, CEO in Belize, and a CEO here abroad. Okay? We have 2 vice presidents for each district in Belize. We have 7 VPs in the U.S. diasporic. And by the way, the word diaspora means those that are scattered abroad. So there's a Belizean diaspora, African diaspora, there's diaspora for everybody. But anyway, 7 VPs in the U.S. diasporic, 1 for northeastern U.S., 1 for northwestern, southeastern, southwestern, California, 1 for Illinois, 1 for Florida, the major areas, 1 for New York and Canada, 1 for the EU. You know, these are some examples, some that we have positions set there. Now, there are qualifications for these positions, and those you can find online. I don't have time to go over all that. But we're looking for people, of course, in those positions to have somewhere either a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate, something like that, you know, to be able to be in those particular positions if possible. We're looking for, again, I said if possible, we're looking for directors. Directors are people in different areas of expertise. So, for example, let's say all your life you've been working in the area of, like my buddy here, in media. Okay, so we want to deal with, we have an area that deals with media, for example, and we need a director for that. We see, you know, he may not have the qualification for school, but he has the years of knowledge, you know, saying so he can actually help us by managing that particular area. And people across the country, there'll be a director for each of the diaspora. Let's say 1 for Northeast, 1 for Northwest, 1 for Southeast, 1 for Southwest. You know, and they all, they'll be actually like VPs or vice president, whatever, underneath that director to take care of those areas. And then there's 1 person in charge that coordinates with Belize, and the person in Belize that can say, guess what, we need help, we need cameras in this particular school, or we need to come down and train our kids that are doing this little project, or whatever. So there'll be someone here all the time, and someone in Belize where we're connected, so we can do things, coordinated efforts where the needs are. Okay. And again, I said more about this you can look up on our website. So that's BelizeCan. Again, BelizeCan is non-partisan, non-governmental, and we are not affiliated with any side. Okay. In Belize, I need to share with you that BelizeCan is considered a watchdog group. We're a watchdog group to strengthen the democratic principles and social justice in the nation of Belize. That's why we're there. We're not affiliated with the red. We're not affiliated with the blue, yellow, pink, or anybody else. Okay, we're just us. All right? As a non-profit organization, BelizeCan relies solely on gifts from philanthropists, from Belizeans that want to help out, and others. So we've been going around the country doing a lot of things. I have honestly spent all of my savings and everything that I had working on some serious efforts dealing with amendments in Belize to stop some amendments that were detrimental to our nation. So we're asking Belizeans abroad to help. It is still your country. And either you go back to a non-existent democracy, or you go back to somewhere that you helped. Although you're here, by your support, you can help with to maintain not just a semblance, but a real democratic nation back in Belize. Again, BelizeCan major focus is education, concentrating on educating the masses and subjects vital to democracy, ethics, transparency, social justice, fundamental rights and freedoms, and the dignity of the human person.